Okay, so for today's video, it's how starting my business really pointed out all my flaws and insecurities. So if you see me looking at my notebook, it's because I took some notes and I just wanted to make sure like there were certain topics that I covered. So I feel like the top three that are really pointed out was doubt, unworthiness, and people pleasing. It took me a very long time to finally launch my business, and why? It was because I knew I wanted to start a business. I didn't have the confidence enough. Like I didn't think that I was good enough to, like start my business. So it took me a while, and it actually took for me to be fired from my job of 18 years. And then finally I was like, well, I felt like I had no other avenue other than this, like hobby slash skill that I had on the side. And so that's when I was like, okay, well then I guess this is now the time that I take advantage of this and just kind of like do something with it. So I gave it a try, and then I just never looked back. But yeah, I did doubt myself for a very long time. And I think and I'm going to say, like, all these flaws, eventually I was able to strengthen my character. Because yeah, again, like I doubted myself. I didn't think that I was enough. I didn't think that I was ready. And again, I just felt like God allowed the situation to happen how it did for me to get fired after 18 years, where I just like, I don't know, I think it was just a comfort, like where I was at the same job for so many years. I just, like I knew the flow of things, I was happy with the amount of, time off that I had accrued. And so I don't know, it really is, comfort really is a drug. I was just comfortable there. And then unworthiness. I was like, no, like who's going to want to pay me? Like who is going to think that I'm worthy? And I remember getting paid, I think so I'm a photographer, right? So like the first job that I actually did, I think I charged like $50 or something, or 100. And it was just, I felt like I had overcharged. I felt like it was just so much money. And, and at that time, there was also like a lot of people also launching their photography businesses. I started to compare myself to everybody else. And then a lot of people didn't take me seriously. They were like, I mean, like, how are you going to survive off of like taking pictures? We all take pictures from our phone. Like, are you serious? So then again, that's where all the doubt and I don't think that I'm good enough, or, that I'll be successful enough in this. But what I am glad that I was perseverant, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep trying. And I think I focused a lot on like wanting to polish my skill. I think like that was what like I zoned in on, and I was like, you know what, I was like, I'm gonna do my best. And like I want my work, I focused on that more. I obsessed over it. Like I wanted my photography work to just look high quality, the best that it could be. And that's what I just kept focusing on. It was just for it to be the best. The people pleasing. I think that the people pleasing was what I think I started to like resent it, because people were like, oh, like, well, that's too much money. Can we just do like a smaller package? And like I felt like like I could never charge more. I could never charge higher. I always had to give them more than, I mean, not that it's a bad thing to like give them more than what they paid for, but it just seemed like just nothing was enough for them. And like I just kept going the extra mile to just provide for them. And I think eventually like I got to a point where I was like, like I think I was attracting the wrong clientele, because I was not valuing myself, and I was just out here just trying to please people and trying to do what they wanted, instead of being like, you know what, this is my style, this is what I offer, I'm happy to serve you if this is something that calls your attention. So another thing that I've heard this before, and I actually heard this from Steve Harvey. We all have a God-given talent. There's something that we have. There's something that we have that we are so talented, whether it's we cook good, or we express ourselves good, or we're good at giving advice, good at doing our makeup, good at, I don't know, doing handyman things in the house. There's something that we're good on, and that we can sit there and we could polish and we can launch even if it's the smallest little business, even if it starts so small, but that's how we all start. But you can start. Marketing is free nowadays. You just here, like right in front of the camera, and the whole world could see you. There's so many people that I've known that have small businesses, and that I mean, like, I personally pay for ads, but because of that fear of being in front of a camera, so I just kind of like pay for Facebook Meta to just kind of run the ads for me. But I know so many people that they finally kind of like broke free from that like fear of being in front of the camera. I mean, I don't know, it is, I kind of understand it now, like now that I'm trying to show up in front of the camera. I'm like, I feel like a deer in headlights. I don't know why, and I'm literally in my car by myself, and it's just me, but for some reason it can still feel overwhelming. But I do know a lot of people that they don't even run any ads, and they have they've built successful businesses, with just the use of social media. Let's see. So you can, launch and market using social media for free. Just your phone, your camera, just keep posting. And eventually it's going to build up there. And then, yeah, however small your business is, it's yours. Really, like, don't belittle it. I belittled myself for a very long time. I think I was very also insecure at the fact that I was working out of my home. I didn't have a studio space. I was like, again, who was going to take me seriously? Who's going to pay me more than $50? Like, I'm working out of my living room. Like what can I offer these people? Like, but you know what? Eventually, thanks to God, I was able to remodel my little space. I fixed it up. I changed the floors, but for a very long time, I ended up just with what I had. Like my TV was there, my sofa, it was my living space. There was a kitchen and a fridge there, and I still made it happen, but yeah, I developed an insecurity because I was like, I just felt like it was so small. I wasn't even taking myself seriously. And then it reflects some people will see past it, and then other people will they will sense your insecurity that you're not even sure of what you're talking about. So yeah, you have to see past that. Like I really like the fact that I feel like here in the US, like, it's just, it's such a melting pot of a country that people come here with dreams and they start so small and they're able to like just grow. Like, so yeah, that's it doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter. Like nobody, honestly, like I know it sounds kind of rough, but nobody cares, like at the end of the day, because you know what, I ended up realizing that what people wanted was the end product to be good. So then they were like, hey, as long as I provided something for them that was like something that they could cherish, and yeah, like it was turned out to be, looking back, it was completely fine. Oh, and then people will minimize your business. They won't even trust you. They'll be like, yeah, how many people have asked me, like, so you're still doing pictures? Like, you're gonna do pictures, you should probably just do something else, and I was like, I'm glad that like I was just kind of like just so focused and obsessed that I developed a level of obsession that like I just saw it past it. And I think it was because eventually I started to see the fruits of my obsession, and like me wanting to perfect my work and just focusing on like educating myself, taking classes, workshops, all that type of stuff, practicing. I kept practicing. I would do shoots for free, all that type of stuff. So I was just focused. That for some reason people think that like when you're on your own, like you don't make any money, or you make less than a 9 to 5. It's definitely like that. For the most part, I think for a lot of people it's like that in the beginning, but eventually you start to see the fruits. Like you can make any type of business work. And there is this guy that I follow online. I don't know if I want to call him a guru, but I really like all of his advices really had helped me, and his name is Sabri Subi, and he mentioned, I remember one of his YouTube videos, that you can make any business work. You just have to be dedicated. And then I guess like once I saw like the fruits of my dedication and my obsession and my hard work, I was like, wow, like I felt like I started to see all these God-given talents that people had and how they can like explode it and make money off of it and be independent and have freedom. Like, yes, do I feel like I'm more tied to my business now? Like I felt like when I worked my 9 to 5, it was like, oh, okay, I work 9 to 5, I go home, the weekends are off, like that's it. But like it is fulfilling that, like whereas like with a business, it's like, if somebody emails me on a Sunday, hey, I'm going to respond to them because that's a potential client. So I'm going to respond, and hey, guess what? And if on a Tuesday I want to go out for coffee, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give myself that day off. So you see, like there is like, you can just weigh out the benefits. Like there's, yeah, like I think in short term businesses, no, I'm sorry. And yeah. In short term, businesses just seem overwhelming, but in the long term, it's so worth it. And then also with the freedom, like, whereas I think with working 9 to 5, the short term seems like a little more easier, not overwhelming, like starting a business. But in the long term, I feel like you pay the price with your youth, with your energy, with your time. You're literally working for somebody else. Like somebody else had an idea to start the business where you work in right now, corporation, company, business, small business, anything. Somebody had an idea once. And so now they need workers to help them accomplish that dream, right? And obviously we can't even get mad at them because it's not like, they need workers, and, we need, people need the salary and they need the income. So then, they just sign up. So you can't really like, get upset at the, those business owners, and it was losing my train of thought. But yeah, so anyway, so they need people to work for them. And Sorry, I felt like I lost my train of thought, and or I don't know. I think I just started rambling on, like sidetracking from my notes. But anyway, pretty much, just like Jeff Bezos and many, business people that started, like in their living rooms, they started small, and now, to continue to grow that dream, like they need workers. So sometimes I feel like workers, and I was the same way, like, oh, like this is not fair. I'm not getting paid enough, But the only reason why sometimes they pay like the amount that they do is because there's plenty of people out there like willing to accept whatever, like even if I stomped into the HR department and said, hey, you know what, I don't think you guys are paying me enough, I'm gonna leave, they have like 10 other people's applications that they can sit there and call and probably get less pay less money to. So anyway, at the end of the day, like these people, these other business owners of like whether it's a small business or it's a huge corporation, they still took a bet on themselves. So don't be afraid that like, oh, I'm starting super small, because hey, Jeff Bezos from Amazon started from his, garage or like small little room, and he grew it. So it's only going to grow like as much as the effort that you put into it, pretty much. And so, yeah, so don't let people minimize it, because it can seem small to them, and it's probably seems small to them, or like it just seems scary to them because they're speaking from their perspective of how they feel, of how they look at businesses. But the step that you took, even if it's like just the beginning step, that's a whole lot larger than how they see it. Okay. So once you start to see the fruits, then your doubts are going to turn into excitement, because then you're going to be like, oh, well, then if I add this to my business, then I can probably make more money, also with this. And then you start to think of all these ideas, kind of like if I had a lemonade stand and it's going really good, right? And I'm like, wow, like this is so exciting, I'm making all this money. Well, hey, how about like I start to offer orange juice too as an option? Or maybe if I offer like brownies or cookies or something, so then when people come, they're gonna want a little snack or maybe chips or something. They're gonna want it along with their lemonade. So then I start to add more things, and then my business, instead of like that one person that came just for the lemonade, maybe they're gonna see the option for chips, and they're gonna be like, you know what, maybe I want chips. So maybe instead of just the $1 lemonade, now I'm gonna sell the 50-cent chips. So now instead of just a $1 sale, I ended up making $1.50. And these are just examples, but you eventually start to get excited of like seeing how your business grows, and you want to make it grow, like you want to add in more things, more features, because then it'll maybe attract, more clientele. Maybe not everyone is excited about lemonades, and then eventually, people are like, you know what, well, now you're offering orange juice, and I like orange juice, so I'll stop by for the orange juice. But even if you don't want to venture off to different things, maybe you just want to specialize and perfect your lemonade. So now all of a sudden, instead of just charging $1, maybe now you offer it in like a nice glass, maybe with like a little umbrella, a nice like little Hawaiian tropical flower. So now instead of $1, for the presentation, now you're going to sell it for $5. So maybe you don't have to add in different things. Maybe you can just continue to specialize what you already have and make it better and better. And look, there's going to be challenges with businesses. Like, yes, I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, but it's, too much risk and stuff like that. You can start super small. I started doing things for free, with a small little camera that I had. And, like I did it with my family members, with my friends. I did everything for free for so long. And I posted it. I just kept posting to the point where like, well, my cousin's friend saw it, and then, so happened that she was like, oh, well, I need it. How much are you going to charge me? I like what you did with so-and-so. And then all of a sudden, like, it starts to pick up. So don't be fearful. Don't be like, oh, like, well, but it's scary. No, you can, or like, you feel like you need capital to start. No, you don't. You can use marketing for free. You can use, you can start working with your family members and post it. See, like, get feedback from people. See, like, how they, like, what they think of your work. And don't be like, don't have too much of an ego or too much pride, or whatever the word is, but don't feel bad when people criticize your work. I know sometimes we don't want to hear it, but you know what, sometimes that it does help, where like, you can make some adjustments and you can like fix some things. But you can start super small and you can start building from there. And trust me, like I said, like once you start to see the fruits, eventually like you're going to see past all of that, and you're just going to get super excited, and you're just going to keep, wanting to keep going. So yes, of course, there's going to be challenges, but you can start super small, and, on the side, maybe, like, remember, like how they say, like, your 9 to 5, that pays your bills, right? But what you do in your 5 to 9 can change your future. It really is true. So when you get home, work on your little business, little by little, every single day, like as much as you can. You just have to get to that level of obsession. You really do. Like, if you want to see a difference, so between 5 to 9, you can dedicate just a little bit, like don't give up on yourself. Bet on yourself. that 5 to 9, even if you just start off with just like half an hour, a day or a week or whatever, but just start. It's just like showing up here on social media. You just got to do it. You just got to, one day you just got to be like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to do it, because otherwise if you sit there and you plan and you wait for like to save up capital 100%, you're not going to do it. You're just going to procrastinate. I've procrastinated forever. But yeah, there's going to be challenges. It can get hard and stuff like that. And so there are challenges as well with the 9 to 5, like asking for permission if you did something wrong, if your boss isn't happy with you. But you know what? At the end of the day, you're not going to fire yourself. If you have your own business, you're going to make yourself go make it work. You're like, hey, Joe Schmo, you better make this work. You have no other option than to make this work. And then guess what? One of the best things that I could say that you get with business is freedom. Yes, of course. Yeah, you want to make more money, you work more hours. You want to take today off, you take today off. And then tomorrow you just come back and you work harder. So that freedom, that sense of freedom, that once you get like a little taste of that, you don't want to go back. And you can't believe that, you waited, it took you this long to actually, accomplish that. Or to take the step. So that's it for today. And I want you guys to write in the comments, what steps you're taking, you want to take, or you've taken already. Doesn't matter how small it is. I want to hear it. Like, I want to see them, because like it helps me, remember like where I was too and how I started. And like I said, I started in my living room, in my kitchen, with my friends and my cousins. And something I will say, like I used to do their hair, their makeup, and then do a photo shoot for them. And I used to always have this saying, but it was kind of like in a joking manner. And again, this was probably me just being insecure or, doubting myself or scared. But I used to tell them like, you know what, this is for free, so don't complain. So like, but it was just kind of like in a joking manner. I would tell like my friends or family, and they're like, oh, okay. But like, I would harass them like anytime that they would come to my house. Like, come. Because then, I had a model for me to like practice with. So yeah, I want to hear all your stories. I really, really do. So leave them in the comments and I'll respond to you. Thank you.